Okay.
Start it.
Okay. First thing I'm going to do is go over the agenda, because if you don't get the whole picture at the beginning, it might seem fragmented and hard to follow. So I'm going to do a screen share now and go over to, I think this is it. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing we're going to cover is basically the setup. So, you know, how does the agenda get sent out, found and sent out? And then it goes to all the committee members to review and see if there's something that they think should be particularly paid attention to. Goes back to the monitor. So the monitor not only has the agenda to look through beforehand, but they also have feedback that item this or item that. I you know, make sure you pay attention. There might be something that we need to look at on that. Then the two monitors, we talk about coordinating, getting each other's information so that you can coordinate timing and information and a meeting afterwards, so that you are going to have to combine your information. The quicker you can do it, the better, both in terms of remembering everything and making it fresh for the people getting it. And we'll talk about the possibility of recording it as you're going or looking at the recording so you can note particular times on it. And the different ways there are to watch the meeting. So there's a bazillion ways. So you can watch it streaming. We'll look at where that site is. You can go there in person. You can watch it on, there's different TV channels, and we'll see where to find the different TV channels, where to find the information on putting it in. And the next day, very quickly, they will have the recording out. Then Ginger is going to show you how to use the checklist. If somebody does not have Excel, we can send you one in Word or a PDF or something like that, but right now it's in Excel. I'm going to talk about how you save the name so it's easy to know what meeting it was, that it sorts in numerical order and we know who did it. You know, once the checklist is completed and it's sent in, you're going to get together and you're going to talk about what are the significant happenings and put those points together, and so that you will be able to put a summary together, and then you send those points and summary to, this says to Ginger or Alice, but maybe Ginger will say that she'll put together the completed report. And so we'll see, but yeah, go ahead and send it to both of us. And then I'm the one that puts it in MailChimp. So yeah, send it to both of us. We can put together. So that's what we're going to go over today. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is finding the agenda. So I'm going to go back to, let's see if we can. All right, I'm going to go down to a sample of the email that gets sent out. So the email that gets sent out with the agenda link, you're going to say who the monitors are, and you're going to, you know, whoever prepares this, they will be monitoring with their emails, the date of it, and then say, please review it and send any anything that needs attention, and that would be to the monitors and to the chairs of the government committee. And there's the link. Now let me see if this link will work for me to go through. If not, I'll go straight to it. So if you click on that link, come on, bugger. There we go.
Alice, we're still seeing the agenda.
What?
We're still seeing the agenda.
No kidding. Let me stop the share and restart it at the right place. Okay, let me do this. Rather than go back to the thing I wrote, I am going to go to what now, can you see that agenda?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So this is what the link will take you to. This is an HTML one, so that every one of these sub things, and sometimes important stuff is in that. And there's a lot of unimportant stuff for us. But when you go through, this actually is the meeting happening tomorrow, this one that they're going to discuss the concerns about the coronavirus distribution. So,
it was today.
So you can see at the top here, it tells you the different TV channels that you can see it on. Tells you how to send in written comments. And then down here at the bottom, it also gives you the phone numbers to call in if you want to make a comment. And of course, you can send in a comment. So here's the agenda items, and you can see that they have links. And sometimes these links really help in understanding what it is. Now, I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. If you go to, oh, that's the live streaming. Let me go here. If you go to you can see that if you go to government here and go over to BCC meetings and agendas, that's this page. So when you scroll down, it's got, actually this has been open, but it looks like this. So it's got the meetings and agendas by year. So it's got the history and it's got the ones that are coming up. So magically today, one turned up for 1/6, and it's got the special meeting and it's got the agenda. You can see it's got a PDF agenda, and it's got an HTML agenda. What you want to link to is, this is where we get what we send out in the email. This, when I link to that, I'm just going to copy this bar up here, that email address, or not email, that HTML address. I'm going to copy that and put it in so people can get to this agenda. Now, this is a short agenda. The usual agendas, you know, what was it, a 10-hour meeting we watched, Ginger?
Yeah, exactly. And Alice, we are going to send, you or I, we haven't worked out all the details yet, but one of us will send the committee, and in particular the watchers, this link.
Right.
That we intend to. So we'll identify the watchers, the observers for that meeting, the link to the agenda and all this stuff. But now you know how to find it yourself. And I used it a great deal when I was watching, when I was observing. Did you? Well, you were there, Alice, so it was harder for you.
Yeah, but I had it on my iPhone and I was using it. And because you, now they have a printed, when you go there, they have a printed agenda.
Okay.
So, and it's also, when in the sample email that I showed that you can't see, I mean, basically it says, here's the agenda, check it. If you see any item that you want to have special attention to paid to. So when I looked at it, there was an item on affordable housing. I forwarded that on to Diana Shoemaker. There was some other item that I think it was the closing of the Sherry Courier deal. So I sent to Ginger item 99 and 100, I really want. So you can see there's just an item 1 here. But on a regular, like if I go back to here and I go to this land use meeting, there's going to be a whole lot more items. So rather than say there's going to be something coming up on affordable housing, the person identifying it will say item number 72, and then you kind of can follow along and know when you're going to hit, you know.
I know Ginger said that some lists are going to be sent out. I don't want to add to anybody's burden, but like I wrote down the day that I signed up to be a watcher, but I don't, at the time, there wasn't anybody else signed up. So yeah, I don't know who the other watcher is going to be, because one of the things you said is
I will send out a complete list of who's signed up for what dates and the contact information. Okay.
Great, thank you.
That will be very helpful.
Good point. Okay. So, I mean, this is, so you're familiar with it, because we will send out the agenda, but you'll know what we're talking about when we say item or when you see the agendas. So I will be sending out the contact information anyway, so you will have it and you will be able to email or contact the person that you, also, if you're still seeing this, they live stream. So there's this site here. Mary Collins. Oh, kill that. Oh, maybe she wants in. No. Mary, I'm on a monitoring meeting. Can we wait? Okay, okay, great. All right, so anyway, it will stream here on the computer. It's on, you know, Spectrum, Comcast, the public channels, and it does say in the agenda where you can see it. And when we were going over, when I had that page up that had, here, this one that has the meetings and agendas, if you go to a past meeting, you can see that they have the videos there. So this is where if you missed something, you can go back, and as soon as the video is posted, this is where it is. So those meetings that are showing here will have the videos in there. So.
Alice, do you have any sense of how long it takes for them to post the video?
It was the next morning, wasn't it, Ginger?
Yeah, it was crack of dawn the next morning. They might have done it overnight. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So now Ginger and I also both, you know, like I have Spectrum, so I just pressed record and let it record. You know, if you have that capability, you can record it on your own as well. So.
Can't you go, Alice, to YouTube and watch it live? Because that's what I typically do.
You go to YouTube to
Right.
The streaming on YouTube. Yeah.
Right.
So there's so many ways. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
You mentioned that the one meeting was 10 hours. Is that like, how long is a normal meeting? Or is that a normal meeting?
I think the normal meetings are basically around 8. So I think, you know, 7-8 hours. But it may be that because of the turmoil there, it's running longer. So I don't know, but I think.
Has that always been the way they are? Is that
Susie, you've attended a lot of them. How long do they usually run?
They're very long meetings because, you know, when they look at their agenda, so it can go to from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That's kind of, to me, I think it's been the norm
Typical.
of the meetings.
Yeah, so it's a
Yes,
regular.
they are long meetings, which is why it made sense that we were trying to have 2 monitors per meeting so that maybe you can carve it up, you know, like 2 hours on, 2 hours off, or whatever you work out with your fellow
Got it.
monitor. And I'm so glad to hear that the videos were posted so quickly, because then it also gives you an option if you know, some kind of emergency or something comes up, and you know, you can at least go back and catch on the video parts that you missed.
And they take breaks. They took what, 3 or 4 10, 15-minute breaks. And they also take an hour for lunch.
Oh,
So, you know, and they just shut down the video, or, you know, pause the video. You can see the room while those breaks and while lunch is going on. And I found I had it on the TV at home, and I could do other things as long as it was not too, you know, I had to pay attention to what they were saying, and I had to keep, you know, kind of glancing up at the screen to look for the body language and things. But, you know, you could do other things if you're writing checks, or if you're, as I was doing that day, ripping stitches from a poorly executed quilting project. You know, you know, are things you can, so you're not just, you know, captive.
and I cleared a bunch of paperwork, you know, like you said, paid some bills, I cooked. You know, I took my laptop in and did some cooking, chopping and stuff like that while it was done. So yeah, it's not, I mean, you're not operating it. I'm sure my speed was not the speed I would have done if I didn't have that to sort of have a half of an attention. But at least I knew I was there clearing paperwork and, you know, doing something at the same time. So
Alice, so are these meetings held, some of them at the convention center and some other places where, like the one tomorrow, I was planning on going.
it's convention center.
Are they always at the convention center?
Unless they have, I mean, they have special ones where, like the one I went to where they wanted to.
At the farm, yeah.
At the farm, and they may have special ones that, I mean, but generally speaking, the ones that we're talking about, almost always they're held at, you know, now at the convention center. When COVID goes away, it'll be at the county building,
Right.
auditorium. So yeah, pretty much that's going to be it. And when COVID disappears.
And that one tomorrow is going to start at what time? 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
Okay. Is anybody else going tomorrow?
I talked to,
Oh no, tomorrow's 2:30.
yes,
Tomorrow's a
it
special
starts
one.
tomorrow afternoon because you've got the legislative session tomorrow morning at 9 at the convention center.
The special meeting tomorrow,
I'm
that's
confused.
No, the meeting tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, it's the legislative delegation. They will be speaking tomorrow, and it will be after lunch when the Board of County Commissioners will convene.
So the COVID vaccine meeting is in the afternoon as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
At 2:30, yeah.
Mhm.
That's the one I just brought up online, so. It's
So
got,
Janet, was that clear? You can go to the link, but it sounds like if you were talking about the COVID vaccination one, I heard it did not start until 2:30. Is that
it
correct?
does not start until 2:30. That's the one I brought up.
Yeah.
Normal county commission, the ones that we're scheduling to monitor, they always start at 9. They're going to be in the convention center until COVID is gone.
Okay, well, I know that I had planned to go to that because of the Sherry Courier situation back at the beginning.
Yeah, that would have been 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that would have been 9. So
Yeah.
that's all been put to
Gone.
bed now,
That's
right?
gone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's gone, that's taken care of. Okay, now I do have up, Ginger, the spreadsheet, or do you want to do the screen share and bring it up?
I can, let me see if I can do it easily, and because I've got it right here too. Here we go. So we showed the spreadsheet yesterday, and you've got it, Alice sent it in the agenda, the first agenda email. And it's an Excel spreadsheet, or I'm sorry, it's a Google Sheets. It's not an Excel spreadsheet. So you can, Alice was saying you want to save it to your own device. You would just click File and then make a copy, or you can download it as an Excel if you'd prefer to do that onto your own computer. So I'm going to let Alice do the naming convention she wants to talk about in a little bit. I'll just talk about using the spreadsheet. So it's just like an Excel spreadsheet, Google Sheets is, but in order, you don't want to, well, I haven't shared it with anybody but people on the writing committee. You won't be able to change it. If you want to make changes or you want to use it, you have to do the, make a copy or download it, okay? And then I did this online, so you can just type in the date, like tomorrow if you're going to tomorrow's meeting, 21. And then when I watch my next meeting, I'm going to do it virtually. Oops. So look, there's something that didn't work real well. And I'm actually typing in the document because I'm the owner of it, so I'm going to have to fix it. But this was meant just to be a check sheet. So that's where I did that incorrectly. So I'll fix that. But here, if I went in person, I could just put the X there and it would show in person versus virtual. So I need to fix that little thing. So then the same thing, whether you've got it printed out or you're using it as a, online, you can, was the agenda posted? You can put the date. Although if you're not monitoring that, we're not asking anybody right now to monitor what date they posted it. I'm going to do that. You can just check that you had the agenda or just leave it blank. So you want to check and see, for each item, you want to check and see, are they doing what we are saying our best practices? If they added additional items, the agenda was revised prior to the meeting date. Again, we don't expect each of you to monitor that county website to see what dates we'll be doing that. And typically they do it at least the night before. And typically they do revisions. So if you're the first person observing the meeting, did they start on time? Were unposted items raised during the meeting? So this is the whole sunshine thing that we're looking for. That proclamation, or that, not proclamation, Alice, what word am I struggling for? The change they made to their rules and procedures on November 17th was basically they can, do anything they want to do at any time without public hearing. So did they do that at a meeting? Did someone bring up a surprise resolution or a surprise item to be discussed and voted on at that meeting, or to be discussed? If a surprise item was brought up, did they vote on it? Or did they delay the vote to a later meeting? So, first of all, we would be hoping that they don't bring up unposted agenda items, right? Then if they do, we hope that they don't vote on them at that meeting. We hope that there's a good reason or some reason that they brought up that unposted agenda, that unposted item. But again, if they do both those things, then we want to know. And I would put some things in the notes about that. What was it? Why was it brought up? Why did they vote on it? Was it the gang of four, versus the other three, or was it somebody else? That kind of thing. And I would say when you're doing your checklist while you're watching the meeting, just use your own words, because you and your monitor buddy, can talk later and clean up the words, and then Alice and I will be taking a look at it also, because we do share it with the whole Manatee League of Women Voters, the state folks. Alice, you're sharing it with some state folks, and then with the Board of County Commissioners themselves. So we want to be sure our language is good.
Ginger?
Yes.
Ginger, may I ask a question at this point? This is Janet. So if we are working with a partner to observe, and it's one of those long meetings and we're dividing up half of the meeting,
Yeah.
then we won't necessarily be communicating about the same things. I would have watched the first part of the meeting and someone else would have watched the second. So it's basically, my notes would be the notes for that.
Yeah,
meeting.
that's a good
His notes
point.
would be
That's a good point, because when Alice and I watched the meeting on December 15th, we crossed over on quite a bit, but there was some that she saw and there was some that I saw, and we just, compared notes to the best that we could. But you're exactly right, Janet. If you are splitting it up, then it's going to be kind of two separate sets of notes.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
want to make sure I understood that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So there's the section for public comment. Did they allow up to 30 minutes in total for individual members of the public to address the board? I noted when I was watching it what time that started. Each person gets 3 minutes unless they've been approved to speak for a group, and then they get 9 or 10 minutes. 10 minutes,
Okay.
that's in there.
10.
See, I doubt myself that I tried to remember to put the right things in there. And then future consideration, same thing, did they allow people to speak? So there's regular and special meeting items. There's kind of agenda posted items, that's item A. And then there's items for future consideration. There's time, they should allow time for those comments. And then C is just regarding workshop items. So for most of the regular meetings, you'll just be ignoring that.
I just had a question. On the consent agenda, and an item is brought up when the public is given an opportunity to speak, and then something else in their dialogue, we've already spoken as far as public comment. And during their discussion, other items are brought up. Well, we've already addressed that issue, but it did not address the comments that were made by the commissioners. How do you handle something like that?
I'm going to have to check the rules. I think, Alice, when like at the December meeting, this boat guy that Alice brought up, in the public comment, he brought up this issue that he had, and then the commissioners were not allowed to address that until a specific time in the meeting, which was later in the meeting. So it all goes back to, that's a really good question, but it kind of goes back to the rules. And I think that probably falls into that matters for future consideration. So I don't know, Alice, can you provide more clarity on that? Or if not, I will go back to the rules and
I cannot.
I will tell you, I will tell you that at least at the meetings I've been at, and I don't know if they're consistent, but if a member of the public brings it up, it's fairly common for there to be a response that's agenda item 345 or whatever, and we'll respond at that point in time. So I've at least heard in a number of instances a very useful comment that you might, if you're the watcher at that point, you might want to note. You're not going to know when they're going to get to that item, but at least you'll have a fairly good idea when they're actually going to respond in the course of the meeting.
Okay, yeah, because there is a specific time, I saw that in the December meeting where this matter that this member of the public brought up, then they consulted the attorney. When are we allowed to comment on it? It was like later. And then they, talked about it for a long, long time when they got to it. So I'll look that up, but that's a good point. So if Ruth is watching the first part of the meeting and they haven't gotten to their, to addressing it yet, then, you could let Janet know, if Janet's the second shift person, the second watcher, that something's coming up that you want them to look for, want Janet to look
Yeah,
for.
that's where the coordination between
Yeah.
the watchers of any given meeting will want to talk beforehand, and then we're all going to learn certain things, but work out how to handle a handoff on something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things, Alice made the statement about their unsunshiny resolution from November. And, later I watched a little bit more of the meeting than she did. And she was like, did they talk about my, what I said? It was like, nope. So that would be another thing. If we've made if one of us has made a comment or someone of interest has made a comment, we want to watch for them to take it up, and whether they do or not. So really good points about the coordination.
Yeah, and also it's kind of critical to pay attention to these public comments, because actually they're not required to respond at that meeting to every comment that is made by the public. So keeping track of what comments were made by the public and were they addressed or not addressed in that meeting, I would think is one of the things that
I think
we as
that
watchers want to do.
Yeah, I mean, we're not expecting them to respond to everybody that comes up with a point. There are people that will be coming up still saying they want Sherry Courier fired. There will be people coming up saying they shouldn't have bought that land. So it's a waste of everybody's time if they respond to that. It's more if there's a substantive thing.
Okay, that's a good point to make, the substantive. But I think it's also important to know, even if it's substantive, they are not required to address it at that specific meeting.
They're not required to address it ever.
Alice?
Yeah.
My observation has been that in addition to the public comments at the beginning of the meeting, which can be about any subject they may bring up in the future, but when they take up an item, before they actually vote on the item, after their discussion, they'll talk, somebody will make a motion on whatever the item is, somebody will second it, they'll have more conversation, and then before they vote, they ask if there's any public comment. And they do that for every single item.
Yeah.
So if you're doing something at the beginning of the meeting and it's about an item that's actually on the agenda, you're better off just to wait until the item is being addressed. And you'll still have an opportunity for a public comment about that item.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
So just, from our discussion here, I'll clean this up a little bit. So it's, one, we want to kind of check off that they're following the procedures, that they're allowing that time for public comment. We do at the bottom of the form, kind of add infinitum, have room for notes if you're doing it online, or it's almost a full page if you're printing it out and taking it with you to make notes, on kind of the particulars, the specifics. And then the other kind of bucket area that we're interested in is their conduct. Is the meeting site appropriate? So for the special meeting tomorrow, they're meeting at the convention center. I'd say that's probably appropriate. They're going to have, I would think, a large public presence, and they need to be able to accommodate that group. Normally they meet in the commission chamber meeting room, and that's usually fine for a regular meeting. They follow their adopted procedures. So Alice, maybe that's something we should send out to everybody, that, or maybe you did at the beginning of I don't remember. Anyway, that would be useful to have, because it's many pages long. If you had it, you could print it out. Yeah.
The,
Um,
Yeah, we
But-
did at the beginning, but it probably is good to send it to the people monitoring again.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Things
I'm
have
gonna,
gone through different revisions and things, so, yes.
and the reality is that I will, you know, I sent everybody the blank, this checklist in
Mhm.
Excel form.
Right.
So that any revisions you do to it will have to revise the Excel.
Right.
They don't have to go to this, they can just use that Excel spreadsheet.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Oh yeah. So the change I made to this Google
Yeah.
sheet doesn't affect anybody but me. I can write-
Nobody would bother by it.
Okay. So, you know, so we're watching to make sure they follow their procedures, that each commissioner is given an opportunity to comment on the agenda items and public comment items, ask questions. At the last meeting, as we noted yesterday, they messed up on procedure a couple times, but nobody was trying to, you know, undermine the process. There were mistakes. Someone else would call them on it, or the attorney would call them on it, and they'd correct it and move on. So, you know, I thought mistakes are going to happen, and
That's not worthy of noting.
not worthy of noting. Yeah.
It's the ones that where they have bait, or somebody has taken a bait.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then, you know, are they listening attentively? Are they working collaboratively? Nonpartisan, you know, I heard a couple of partisan comments at the last meeting. They also, something that I've noticed is they often call out Reggie Bellamy as the only Democrat in the group, or as the only Democrat in the room, which I find very disrespectful and rather infuriating. You know, I don't know how it makes him feel, but to me, that would be not being respectful. So, you know, I personally would note that. So I think it's wrong. Or if, you know, someone said, you know, Carol is the, what's the term that Kevin Van Oosterbridge is using?
Oh, she's a rhino.
Rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, for the rhinos in the room, you know, that would be disrespectful for one of the Republicans to call another Republican a rhino. You know.
And it's clear, and that's that's the stuff that turns up when you mark in the column A that you know that there was that you know there was a problem. Then so you put a reference down like B or something, or A, you know, 1 or something like that. And in the comments under 1, you put, you know, KVO called, was partisan.
Rhino.
Called,
right.
so, and that's really what gives it the meat is, yes, there's the checklist there and you're checking it off, but those references down there that says, what is it they did that made them not pay attention? Well, you know, 50% of the time they were on cell phone, or what is it that they did that was not being respectful of the other ones? Well, they called her a rhino, or they called, right. You know, they talked over somebody, or, you know, that kind of thing. That's the meat.
Right. And actually, those are the kinds of things that when they get a facilitator, the facilitator will work with them on, you know, making them aware of these, you know, maybe unconscious, or, you know, these things that they do that are disrespectful to each other. So, but yeah, and here's, I just saw what was just brought up. The public is provided an opportunity to comment on agenda items prior to a vote being taken on any agenda. Comment on agenda items prior to a vote being taken on those agenda items. But I'm jumping up a little bit. So all of these things are either from their rules or are from materials that the writing committee found about good governance and you know, interacting well in a public commission or in an elected commission. So that's where these came from. Most of them are from best practices. So, you know, I'm not going to read all of them, but they're all along those kinds of things. We want to look for inconsistencies, or, you know, particularly in maybe the real estate stuff, or the developers getting all the, you know, plus votes, and the poor landowner, or the, you know, the person being eminent domained out of their house, you know, so stuff like that.
Yeah.
Special interest,
Deals.
yeah. So we'll start seeing, I would think, some patterns as we're watching regularly, but while it's new, it's all new, you know, we're going to, you know, kind of find our way. So, and then the same thing as them listening attentively to each other, they're, you know, acting collegially. I think this having adequate time to consider broad impacts before making decisions, you know, goes right back to these last minute agenda items. So, you know, if there's a last minute agenda items and they don't delay the vote, then clearly the commissioners don't have adequate time to consider broader impacts. You know, we saw that in November with the resolution to notice Sherry. So, you know, they certainly got that broad impact over the next month and led to the retraction. So,
Karen has her hand up. Karen?
oh, I'm sorry.
Just as a question, as you were moving along there, you were talking about if there becomes a pattern of, I guess, some people voting always with the developers or whatever. Are we noting that somewhere on here, how votes go, or is that something that?
You can note that in the notes and comments.
Okay.
Anything that, it doesn't have to be in that checklist. If you see something that's significant, note that in the notes and comments, that just doesn't pass the smell test, you know, note it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, good questions, because we're really, you know, we're figuring it out as we go along. And then
Ginger, I have a
Sure.
question. I note that Vanessa Baugh is the new chair. Does the chair have any particular role in keeping things civil, keeping the procedures going? Is that something that traditionally has been the role of the chair?
I mean, I think that is the role of the chair. They're, you know, to lead the meeting. They're to make sure procedures are being followed. They're to, you know, kind of, it's a figurehead kind of thing. There's not any power supposedly necessarily. Anybody else who has an opinion on this, please jump in. But
Well, you saw, absolutely, you saw over and over again where Carol Whitmore, even though she's following the procedures which Vanessa Baugh will follow, she did say, I want the lawyer's opinion on this.
right.
Now, if Vanessa Baugh has something where she should get the lawyer's opinion and she doesn't ask for it, that's something that turns up in comments.
Comments, okay. Mhm.
You saw her question why things were being brought up, or question the appropriateness of things. I mean, and that's part of her position as being part of there, but she is questioning things on a procedural basis. Like, is this appropriate to do now? And I suspect that what we're going to find with Vanessa is not an over questioning, but an under questioning.
Yeah.
Blow off stuff.
I wonder if we should add either a couple of items or a section for the that role, that they're doing their role correctly, as well as the commissioners in general.
Yeah. Okay.
Good point.
So are we done that part, or?
Yeah, yep. And then the last bit is just the same thing with public comment. Are they paying attention? Are they being respectful? You know, again, just the notes are there to look for. You can check them off or not check them off, make comments about it. So So that's it. And as we all use this form, as we all observe the meetings, hopefully everybody will say, this is working, this isn't working, we need something in here about this, that doesn't really make sense. This is a document in process. It's for our ease, it's to help us. So if it's not right or we need to make changes, you can certainly make changes to your own version. If it's something you think that everybody would benefit from, then, share it back or share your thoughts about that back, and we'll, update it for everybody.
Ginger, this is Janet again. We are supposed to use this form. Can we mark on it, and then do you want us to type into this form and send it back to you in this form?
You could do that, sure.
Or can we mark things by hand on the form? What are you expecting? What are you expecting?
I am expecting you to use it as, it makes sense for you. So if you print it and then, handwrite notes and make check marks, you could scan it and send it back. You could, then take your handwritten and type it into a form and save it. It'll be a good time for Alice to talk about our naming convention. The most convenient thing for us is that you, type it back into the form, save it how Alice is going to tell us, and then send it in. But if that's a problem for you,
No, I know that I am a hands-on writing person. So I will make my handwritten notes, and then I can go back into another form on my computer and print it. Send it. But
yeah, because you're not
know what the
actually going to have that
expectation.
much.
I beg your pardon?
You're not actually going to have that much. So if you print it out and you say, oh, okay, I'm going to handwrite a little note here, handwrite a little note here, and this matches for this thing here and that thing there. What you have to type in at the end is not going to be that much. These
Okay.
are not to be a treatise.
Oh, yeah.
I took hand notes, on a notebook through as I watched the meeting, and then afterwards I went back and, checked off and just, kind of did the high level notes, and then talked to Alice, and we
And Janet, in my mind, what I saw myself doing was making little notes to myself about what time did something happen, in case I felt I needed to go back to it or wanted to include that in the notes. I think it's best if it's something typed that goes back to Alice.
Okay, that's fine.
And Ginger, because then they can do copy and paste and pull it together pretty quickly.
You don't even have to have that form.
But I think all of us will do a little bit of annotations just for ourselves as we're double checking things before we send in our final report.
Yeah.
I would say you're exactly right. And the best way to send it back in will be to have the form completed, saved, send it back, so that we can manage that effectively. If you can't do that, then we wouldn't, refuse what you send in, but that would absolutely be the best way to do it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ginger, if you could drop out of your screen share, I'm going to pull up the spreadsheet. Yeah. So this is the naming convention, which if you don't do it, that's okay. I'll change it afterwards, but I will, let's see, where is the spreadsheet? There it is. Okay, everybody sees the spreadsheet? So this is Excel. So I've filled it out. I'm going to click on File, and then I'm going to click, oh, this is not giving me a save as.
Oh, Alice, go back one. You have to enable editing.
Oh, that's right. I need to send it so that, yeah. It does I've downloaded stuff. Okay, close my window. What a booger. So, all right, let me do this again. I hope it will let me share.
And Alice, go slower for the dinosaurs.
Okay. Okay, I do have that problem. Okay, this is Excel.
Okay.
So on the menu bar at the top, there's one that says File. I will do File, and then I will do Save As. And it might look differently depending on the version you have, but it's always File, Save As. When I do Save As, you can see that the name here, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to BOCC for the BOCC meeting. Then I'm going to put the date in, and I'm going to put the date in the order that will sort properly. So the first thing is going to be 2021. The second thing will be the month, 01. The third one, I don't know when the next one is. Let's say it's 09. Okay, and then, so now we know it's that BOCC meeting. It'll all line up in numeric order perfectly. And then I want you to put your initials on the end so we know whose it is. And that's it. Then you just save that, and then you can send that off, and I'll know what meeting it was for. It will sort all the different meetings appropriately, and we'll know who did it. Except you won't know by my initials, but that's okay. So that, if you don't do it that way, I'll just change it. So, but you know, the main thing is to send it in. But I will write that in the thing I send out. But it does make it easier to keep it straight. And if you're naming your own conventions, that sorting order really helps. So now we've done, I'm going to stop the share. Both people have listened. You call and talk to each, share your information. You call and talk to each other, and you come up with, oh, no, going to go back to share. You come up with the points that you want to make, because when Ginger and I talked, we came up with different points. It was like, oh yeah, and they did that. So it really helps to go over and set the time up beforehand that you're going to sync up, so that you do it pretty quickly afterwards, or the information will get stale and your mind will get stale. Let me see where is it? No.
Now, if you all didn't cross over on your observations at all, then you can just, you know, send us each your individual checklist. Do you think, Alice, if there's nothing for them to...
Yeah, we can put it together with the points. That's the agenda. Oh boy. Stop share. Well, at any rate, it's there, but I don't see it. Agendas, cloud, training. I do not see it. No, that's not it. Well, the result will be is basically the points. So the points about that you're going to bring up when you get back. You're going to also keep notes about major things that happen. So Vanessa Baugh got made, you know, separate than the spreadsheet at all. Vanessa Baugh got made chair. George Cruz introduced charter government. You know, so this is beyond good governance. These are significant happenings that happened in that meeting. So the two of you will come up with those significant happenings, and then you'll send your notes, send that to Ginger and I, and you will send the spreadsheets, and that's it. So you two get together and talk about the significant happenings and come up with that, and send your spreadsheets, and we'll be good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
So, any more questions? Did I go?
We're all figuring it out.
Okay, Alice, so how can we get a copy of this recording? Because I know I'll need
What
it.
I am, let me summarize here what's happening next. So what I will do is I am going to send out something for all the monitors that have who has now signed up for what meetings and all the contact information. So you'll be able to see your date, the contact information of who you're with. And I'm also going to put in that email the link to the February site. So if other people want to sign up. Then I'm also going to send a link to this video.
Mhm.
So and that will go to all the monitors because not all the monitors were able to make it tonight. So, so that and the good governance
Document.
document. So that's 3 things. Anything else?
Alice, did you mention something about sending the policies and procedures of
No.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the good
That was
governance.
last-
policies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and actually, number 4, I will resend the spreadsheet. Just in case I didn't
Thank
send it enough. And
Okay.
I'll put the naming convention in.
Alice and Ginger, do you have a window, an ideal window when you'd like to get the spreadsheet back to the 2 of you after the meeting? 24 hours, 48 hours?
Within 48 hours, I hope.
Okay.
That's a good point.
That's a very good point. And so as, yeah, you said, if you're going to talk to your a partner monitor, you should set that up in advance so that you can talk and both of you can get your pieces done and turned in within 48 hours.
And the fact that you don't need to consolidate your spreadsheets. So you can send your it helps to look at it while you're talking with the other monitor. But if you just send the spreadsheets and you talk about the significant events and the 2 of you send that in, for the 2 of you to be on the phone and talk about, stuff that you noted in your minutes and then talk about the significant events to add to it and send in, it shouldn't take real long.
Okay.
It didn't take us that long, really.
And don't stress about it. This is volunteer. This is volunteer. We're just doing the best we can do. So, it's not an essay for your college graduation.
Should not be a thesis. Should not be.
Perhaps for strange reasons, for grins, I plan to go to one of these meetings in person. I like to take notes on my laptop when I'm in something like that. Is it, like in a courtroom, you're not allowed to have your cell phone or a laptop
People
or
are
something.
sitting there with their laptops open while it's going on.
Right, okay, thank you.
They do? They do?
Yeah. They have it on their laps. They sit there and
Okay, good.
or they're on their iPhone or stuff like that.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. And there's the room that's right looking over them, and then there's a side room that has a video. So if you want a lot of space, you can go in that side room. It's just, it's across the hall. And they video it in there in case they have more people than that little viewing section has. That viewing section is where people go up and make comments and stuff like that. But if you don't intend to make a comment and you would just like to observe, of course, they won't see you with your League of Women Voters tag on, and that's a good thing. But if you just wanted to sit and observe there is a side room.
Okay. I'm afraid I have a hard stop at 6, so I'm going to drop out. I know we're close to the end, but
Stop, an hour is enough.
I have a hard stop.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you so much.
All right, thank you, Alice.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Everybody.